Jay, I got a question.
All right.
How's that riprap doing?
Well, it's funny you say that, Matt, because we hadn't had hardly any rain since I put it down. And I want a gully washer to come. 'Cause I mean a gully washer.
You want to test it out?
I just want to see how good it is. And right now we're actually getting a pretty good rain.
That's good.
So, yeah, we'll see. It may be an inch of rain, maybe half an inch.
One of the most insane rainstorms that I can remember being a part of. I was standing in your garage. That was before you sealed that sucker up, too.
No, that's right. I think you were working on that little go-kart motor, and I was trying to drain the swamp.
It got pretty rough pretty quick. But, well, a lot of folks are asking about the riprap, and so I thought we would start there because you were putting down, thousands of pounds?
Half a ton.
Half a ton of rock.
Half a ton. One Bobcat scoop, which I'm told is half a ton.
Mm-hmm. And you got it all in. That's good. That's good.
I sent you a picture of some of the bruising that I had, right? Did I show you
You
that?
did. You said, I don't know where these... You said, and I love you so much, bro. You said, I don't know where these bruises came from. I said, Jay, those bruises came from being 66 and moving 1,000 pounds of rock.
Well, I didn't get in a bar fight. Nothing hit me. But here's the thing, man. I didn't send you the worst ones.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I just sent the one that was easiest to take a picture of.
Wow. Are they getting better? That's the question.
Yeah, now I'm getting a little bit better. It's been hard to play golf this week. But I've struggled through it.
Wow.
But, yeah.
It's tough.
I'll tell you this now. Just to finish the story. So riprap was stage one, right? And I finished that up last Sunday morning. I guess we talked Friday. I was in the middle of the project. I finished that up Sunday morning. Well, stage two is topsoil. I got to get half a ton of topsoil up there.
Ooh.
So the guy that does my yard showed up here Monday morning at 7 o'clock, regular time. At 7:13, we had a deal for him to do the time.
It didn't take long, did it?
And he asked me, what are you willing to pay for it? I said, James, I will give you the house.
I told last week, as your best friend and gambling buddy, I said, Jay, come off your wallet.
Yeah. No, well, I get it, but it's something I wanted to do, really, just to prove to myself, Matt. To be honest with you, I had the time, and I needed the exercise. I've been a little sedentary, and I just did it really to prove it to myself.
Yeah.
And once I proved to myself I could do it, there wasn't any reason to prove it twice.
Well, that's the truth.
Because here's the deal: they show up with a 4-wheeler. So the hardest part of it, they didn't have to do. They just drove through my neighbor's yard, went through the back gate, and they were done in an hour and a half and charged me $500, including the dirt.
Well, I hope that you were out there the entire time yelling at them. Well, anybody could have done that.
Well, I was here, but I wasn't yelling. No, trust me, I was so happy to see that dirt coming in, man. I didn't say a word.
You were, I bet you were wagging your tail. Have you seen? I didn't hit you up on. Did you see this dog?
The rescue dog. Yeah, so sweet.
I bet you were wagging your tail as hard as that rescue dog was wagging his
the whole time.
If you haven't seen it, I put it up as I call it a timeline cleanse every now and again. That's what folks call it. It's a little dog. It looks like a golden retriever mix.
Right.
That got rescued in Australia. He and his sister wandered off their property, and they didn't come home, and so the family started looking for them, and they were found several days later, and it's such a sweet story. It just breaks me up. Dogs are so sweet. Of the two dogs, the girl dog, Penny, was standing at an opening of a 26-foot deep mine shaft where Ted had fallen in. And she was keeping watch over her brother. And
for 4 days.
For 4 days. She wouldn't leave her brother. And the fire department came out and the fire authority came out. And y'all just go to @Matt Murphy Show on the X machine and look at this, because they rescued this dog. And it is so sweet, because it looks like his tail is wagging so hard it looks like he's about to fall off.
And he hadn't eaten for 4 days.
Hadn't had a bite for 4 days. And and his sister stood watch for 4 days, making sure he's okay.
Yeah.
That's so sweet. That's so sweet. Yeah. Jay, let's talk a little law. You want to?
Yep.
So, U.S. Supreme Court, this is the season, right? Explain for those, in Aniana that don't know, explain the calendar, right? I mean, because the court, if I'm not mistaken, they go into session in October and then they hear what is the basic calendar of the court? And why we seem to always get the decisions this time of year, right?
Yeah, well, let me answer that question, but there's a funny story behind all that. But I think by statute, the Supreme Court term, that's the word we use, begins the first Monday in October.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure that's by statute, man. There is no end to the term. So they could be in session year round, just like any other court. Here's where it came from, because I just got to tell the story. Used to, there were 2 terms of court. Spring term and fall term, and it had a beginning and an end. And do you know why that was?
2-term beginning and an end. Wintertime? They don't want to be up there.
Spring and fall. It was before air conditioning.
Yeah,
you couldn't hold it. You couldn't hold court during summer.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah, so that's why we have this concept of terms. But any other court, you don't even hear that. And so they go in session formally first Monday in October by statute. They could quit anytime they wanted to, or they could go year round. But just kind of by custom, man, they want to take a summer vacation. Nobody in Washington works around the calendar, and so they generally wrap up around June, and they'll do little stuff during the summer. But that's not by law. It's just whenever they're done. Yeah, my word, they only take 60 cases a year.
It's not like they're working out there.
No, it's pretty sweet deal.
I mean, they how many cases, just off the top of your head, would you say are pushed up to their court? I mean, in other words,
at least 10,000.
What?
10,000 cases a year, and they only take 60 of them.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I guess when you don't have to, but it's probably a good thing, right? Because at that level, you've taught me over the decades that we've known each other that they're there to look at some big picture issues or bigger picture issues regarding.
That's right. Well, it's really two categories of things, man. One is big constitutional issues, and then the other is statutory interpretation issues or other kinds of cases where there is a split in the circuits. There are, I guess, 12 or 13 circuit court. Those are the first level appellate. You got trial, circuit, Supreme Court. Well, if 2 circuits have decided an issue differently, then the Supreme Court has to resolve that. So that's really the 2 category of cases.
So they're throwing out some decisions of late, and there were 2 that caught my notice. That I wanted to ask you about, and I want to do that on the other side. I don't want to rush you on this. One, I don't think a decision's been made yet, but I think unions are asking, if I'm not mistaken, unions want the courts to take up whether or not Donald Trump can essentially dismantle the federal Department of Education.
That's right.
And that one's kind of still pending. The other one that was decided was that the courts determined aspects of a discrimination case involving a woman who says that she was discriminated against because she's straight.
Right.
Which is kind of an interesting twist on it. Yeah. But before we got in the minute or so that we have before the break, I think the Trump administration, in some ways, they get themselves into a corner. In a lot of ways, the way they get out of corners is brilliant. So they had this Abrego Garcia guy, and initially they admitted they kind of screwed up. That they should have, given him a hearing, before getting him out of the country. They didn't do that. But, Trump's stubborn, and I think the DOG is going to reflect the president that they serve. And he didn't want to give a win to what he felt like was judicial activism out of Washington, D.C., and so now they're bringing him back, and they're re-racking these charges against him for human trafficking that Joe Biden's administration never leveled against him.
Yeah, and it's going to be tried in Tennessee.
And it's going to be in Nashville, Tennessee. Yeah.
No, it is brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant because it totally flip-flops the PR aspect of this. right? The mainstream media was portraying him as a victim. Well, we'll see what happens when all this evidence comes out of all the human trafficking he's been doing.
Well, and they've been begging for, Ken Weaver and I were talking about it a minute ago. They've been begging for due process. Well, here you go.
About to get,
you got about to get you some of that.
Yeah, it's like my favorite line of that movie. The guy gets arrested, Ken, out in the Old West little town, and he goes in and he asks the sheriff, says, "Well, sheriff, what's going to happen?" "Son, we're going to give you a fair trial followed by a first-class hanging."
That's right.
Ken, that's due process right there.
For some reason, when we talk about due process in this respect, it makes me think of getting some of that reform. We're going to get some of that reform, Daddy. Reformed it with the incumbency.
Or like Strother Martin in Cool Hand Luke. Well, he gets it.
He says he wants it.
Well, he gets it.
Well, he gets it. I love it.
Luke, you got your mind right?
Getting my mind right, boss. Ken, I think I can put you in our category now because when I start thinking about Cool Hand Luke, it's difficult for me to stop talking about the quotes from Cool Hand Luke.
I know. There's too many.
There's one of the most quotable movies in the history of cinema. I mean, and there's a lot. I mean, get mad at them damn eggs and all of it. Jay, I never focused on one, and we started up. I don't know how long we've been playing golf together, Jay. You might not remember this, but remember, come on, safety pin?
I know exactly. Come on, safety pin. Lord, whatever I've done, don't strike me blind now.
Looks like a watermelon. What's about to bust right open?
Looks like a watermelon. Come on. The only thing.
So I use that with my son a lot. Come on, safety pin.
Come on, safety pin.
That was a great scene.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, she knows exactly what she's doing.
Big old George Kennedy.
Oh, dragline.
Yeah.
And he won the Oscar. He won the Oscar.
He did. Best supporting actor. And, well, there's a lot of favorites, but, he's doing it for your own good, Luke. Well, wish
you'd quit being so good to me.
Yeah. Wish you'd quit being so good to me, boss. All right, Jay. So, the discrimination case. I mean, it was unanimous, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Pretty easy case, man.
I mean, I guess so. What were the deets on? What were the details?
Well, yeah. So it's what we call reverse discrimination, and here it had to do with sexual orientation, but let's just say it's race or sex. A guy claims he's discriminated against because he's a guy. Or a white person claims they're discriminated against because they're white. Mm-hmm. They're majority. The discrimination laws, you might think, not fair to say, were implemented to protect minorities, but it doesn't say that in the law. So some courts have said, when presented with what we call them reverse discrimination cases, they said, now, wait a minute. This law really wasn't meant for you.
Right.
So in order for you to use this law, you have to make an initial showing that this employer is one of those unusual employers who would discriminate against a majority, somebody that's in a majority, because that's odd. We don't think that happens very often. Mm-hmm. So we're going to make you have an additional element of proof you have to show. And the Supreme Court said, no, you don't. There's nothing in these laws that says they're only for minorities. Mm-hmm. They're for employees. Everybody's treated the same, and it's been that way for years. I mean, that's the law around here. I've never thought there was an issue about it. I've had quite a few of those cases, and they're interesting cases.
So it occurs to me, and I know it's news time, so I want to take this up on the other side, Jay. You and I have talked about this in the past. I think we talked about this when it happened. Remember the Hooters case?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and you, I mean, this is kind of right in your, I mean, every matter of the law is your wheelhouse, in my opinion, but this is really in your wheelhouse, employment discrimination. But
those stuff I make up, but this I really know.
well, I want to talk about it. If y'all forgotten about the Hooters case, there was some fella sued because Hooters was only hiring.
Well, it was the EEOC. The EOC sued Hooters.
Oh, I
said, you can't have just. Oh, now this is a great case to talk about.
Before we get back to Jay, speaking of favorites, I mean, this is maybe my. gosh, it's in the top 5 all time.
You're going to get used to wearing them chains after a while, Luke. Because they're going to remind you of what I've been saying. For your own good.
Wish you'd stop being so good to me, Captain.
I didn't like that.
Don't you ever talk that way to me. Never! Never! What we've got here is failure to communicate. Some men you just can't reach. So you get what we had here last week, which is the way he wants it. Well, he gets. And I don't like it any more than you, man.
It does not get any better than that.
Well, and the part of that scene, too, that gets him is Luke purses his lips.
Like him.
The boss
Like
does.
boss. Right. I wish you'd stop being so good to me, Captain. Oh, Jay, what about it, man? Oh.
My favorite movie, absolutely my favorite movie. And I realize it's not to a lot of people's taste, and because this is sort of man's inhumanity to man. And it's a dark, dark movie. He ends up dying. Right?
Yeah, it
is.
Right? The protagonist die, and the religious references throughout it are amazing.
Oh, no, he is. I mean, it is. What I learned in theater, in my theater background, is it is a classic Christ allegory. Is that
absolutely.
He sacrifices himself to save others.
Because, when he's digging that hole out there and then he falls in it and he's hands up with his arms crossed, you're like Jesus in the Shroud of Turin. And,
there's another one, too, Jay, and I'm sure you've noticed it, when he gets finished eating the eggs.
And he plops down on the table.
He lays out on the table and his arms lay out.
Right.
I mean, if you've never seen Cool Hand Luke and you're a guy, I've stopped recommending it to women because for some reason women don't care for it. But
they don't like it.
But if you're a guy, you gotta see it. It's so.
The women just don't get this safety pin joke. They don't get it.
They just don't get it.
Come on, safety pin.
That's a perfect segue into our Hooters conversation, Jay. Just give it, because I got a lot of questions I want to get to them, but just what was the EEOC sued Hooters?
Yeah, the EEOC sued Hooters and said they were discriminating against men because they would not hire men as servers. They would hire only women. And they said, you can't do that. And it kind of was reverse discrimination. Well, Hooters didn't back down, right? Because this was their business model. It was central to their business. So they fall back great guns. And then it was two-pronged. The legal argument, which was brilliant, is you don't understand. We're not in the business of selling buffalo wings. We're in the business of selling vicarious sex. And the buffalo wings are just the cover. And in order for our business model to work, we have to have women. It'd be like saying to a strip club, well, you got to hire some men. You're only hiring women. But the other part, they had this great PR campaign. Well, he's got this big brawny guy, with hair all over his back.
Bushy mustache. He had a bushy mustache.
Yeah. And then dressed him up as a Hooters girl. And the ad was, this is the government's idea of a Hooters girl.
That's awesome.
And they finally they forced the EOC to drop the case.
Well, I mean, good for them. Good for them. And now Hooters, apparently they're trying to go family friendly. I don't know if you've heard that or not. Well, good luck with
the business is falling off. When's the last time you've been to Hooters?
That would have been 1992.
Yeah, well, I think it's time for them to change the business model.
Love it. Jay, let's get to a few of these questions. Some of them are more technical than others. One quick question I'll ask you while my others are loading. Somebody wanted to know, did Mr. St. Clair's dog, that would be Olivia, haul any rocks?
Did I tell you about the idea of building some saddlebags for her?
Did. Yes, you did.
No, I couldn't do it. And I'm glad I didn't, because she's pulled up lane this week. A couple days. Yeah, she's hopping around on 3 feet. Said if I'd made her done that and then she pulled up lame, I would feel awful.
5911 just writes in real quick and says, thanks to the Matt Murphy Show and Fri-Jay, I won my lawsuit against the company. And I have no idea what we're talking about, but we're getting credit for it. So that's great.
I think I know exactly who this is. And it's a gentleman that I talked to. He called me. We talked a lot about how you could bring your own lawsuit. And so I talked to him. We had several conversations. And I said, you can handle this. The amount of issue was about $8,000, man. Mm-hmm. And he took him to court, and he won.
Oh, that's great.
So it can be done. And, I always joke about $400 in a crayon. I'd say that because $400 is the filing fee in federal court. Well, the filing fee in General Sessions Court is $175.
Oh, wow.
So we may have to change it to the name of our podcast, $175 and a crayon.
One of these days, Jay and I are doing a podcast, and it will be all about legal matters. And I'm just going to be asking questions. Jay's the guy and we're going to call it $175 and a crayon.
And so I'm glad he wrote in. This just shows you can take a company to court and win.
All right.
It can happen.
8365 says, I have a Fri-Jay question. Got a speeding ticket in Murfreesboro, but the address they wrote out on the ticket was not the one in the system or the one on my ID. And he did not even give the home address correct for the old address. Can I get the ticket thrown out for an improperly filled out ticket? I used to live in Vermont, got a speeding ticket thrown out because they did not write the speed limit for the road on the ticket, but I had a lawyer for that one. So the idea is the police officer wrote some incorrect information on the ticket. Jay, does this person have an opportunity to get this thrown out?
You can try it, but I think your chances are slim. When he's talking about the wrong address, he's talking about his home address, or is he talking about the address where the incident happened?
Home address is what he said.
I don't think that's grounds to put a ticket apart. The other one, when they didn't have the speed of the road, see, that's part of the offense.
Right.
You got to show that, but where your home address is not relevant to whether the offense happened or not. Where it may be relevant is that they may not be able to find you. That's the relevance.
Well, if you want to go on the lam for a speed ticket, there you go.
To do that, you got to go show up at court, and you can fight it yourself. You don't really need a lawyer for that, but you can make that argument. But I don't know about that one.
Boy,
I may be having an expert. Well, I have a lot of resources, man. And Resource Richard, who is an expert, a true expert in criminal law, says no, that is not grounds.
Oh, well, there you go.
Just set it aside.
Law question for Jay. I own a 5th-generation farm in Clarksville. That's awesome. Greenway expansion master plan shows it going right through my private property. They have started clearing land a mile from me, just approved another mile right next to me, and it's headed straight for me. There's no way around me. I don't want it coming through the farm, and I have yet to be contacted by anyone regarding my farm or plans. What can I do?
Well, not a lot, to be honest with you. Because it's the power of eminent domain, there is this odd provision in the law that the government, if they got to show a good cause, good reason for it, but they can force you to sell them your land. Now you have to get a fair price for it, and you go to court to do that, and you can fight them for even the land. But if the highway's coming your way, you're going to hear from them. And all you can do is just negotiate the best deal with them you can.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is.
Yeah, well, and I wonder if it changes it. I don't know what he means by greenway. I would guess maybe that's a roadway, or maybe that's something different. Help me out at 1816 and let me know what greenway means. But that's eminent domain has popped a lot of people over the years. Right. Can you ask Jay if President Trump can sue Elon for defamation?
I can.
Yes, sir.
You listen?
I am.
What does it take to file a lawsuit?
$400 and a crayon.
You're right.
I love you, Ken. Ken, I love you.
And, hey, Jay, he got the amount right because it would be filed in federal court. So
Yes, sir.
No, it's all right. No, it's great. You're brilliant, Ken.
Thank you, Brother Jay. I went out and got me a whole new set of crayons, too, in case my wife makes me mad.
There you go, buddy. There you go. Use the red one. The fellow that sued me, remember Charles Allen Head suing me?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
What did he sue me?
Made up court.
He sued me in Alabama District Court.
The District Court of Alabama.
Right. He wrote it.
You were a little
pencil.
worried about it, and you showed it to me, and I said, man, don't worry about it.
I was like, well, what? There's just nothing to it. And Jay said, well.
The court doesn't exist.
The court. I said, oh, okay then. Jay, I had a colonoscopy back in September, paid out of pocket. I paid off the bill in full and even received a paid in full receipt via certified mail. Literally less than 2 weeks later, I received another copy of the original bill in the mail, except it had several $1,000s of additional charges. When I called, they said that they had missed portions of the billing, and they are now attempting to bill me 5 months later. Do I have to pay them?
You know, I would like to see all that paperwork, but that strikes me as very odd. I would also like to know the amounts, and I know we don't have it in there. I mean, if it's another $100, it's probably not worth fighting about. But if you paid them $2,000 and they're now asking for another $2,000, and I'd also be interested in knowing. It sounds like this wasn't covered by insurance. So you really should have had an agreement with them up front as to what they were going to charge. If this was direct billing, then you should have got an estimate before the procedure was done. So I would need to have more facts to give you a real concrete answer. But the main thing I want to know is if you told them up front, I'm not insured, I'm paying this out of my own pocket, they should have given you. It's just like buying a car. You don't buy the car until they tell you what the price is.
Mm-hmm.
And they can't charge you more than what they said they were going to charge. So I just got to know more facts, man.
79. Yeah, he said it's over $4,000 of additional money. So
wow.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's worth fighting about. And again, if I'm assuming insurance is not involved in this at all, as direct pay, and there should have been a conversation with them ahead of. If we're talking that kind of money, I'm sure you asked them ahead of time, what's this going to cost?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well,
hopefully got it in writing.
Yeah, hope it works out for you, 7944. But as Jay said, don't pay without getting some backup materials there. And finally, Jay, do you remember? You might not remember this, but someone has just asked, what was Charles Allen Head? I do. Remember what Charles Allen Head was suing me for? Remember that?
Maybe it was for you. May have banned him from the show.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
And I forgotten what tort he called it or what crime or whatever. I think it was just said, "Well, I'm being banned."
Right. It's violation of my freedom of speech. And he was a
great American, Ken. This gentleman, he was an older African American guy, and there's no telling what all he saw in his life.
Yeah.
And he was so wise, and so funny, so clever. He got to where he would write poems.
Oh, yeah.
And they were very good.
And had great ideas.
And this is how clever he is, that when Matt threw him off his show, he drew up a lawsuit. And I promise you, he very intentionally made up a fake court so that he couldn't get in trouble. Just a great man. Great man.
One of the best things I ever did in Birmingham was when Ani and I went and took him and his girlfriend to Walmart.
Yeah.
And took him on
to buy some stuff.
Buy stuff at Walmart. We took him in.
And then was it after he passed away? Didn't you stay in touch with his girlfriend, or maybe it's when he got real sick?
Ms. Oh gosh, what was her name?
And y'all were kind of her Uber for a while.
Yeah, we took her around for a little bit.
Brenda, wasn't her name Brenda?
Her name was Miss Brenda. That's exactly right.
And the funny thing about it, Ken, is Charles Allen Head would call in. Well, Brenda'd be in the other room
yelling.
She's yelling at him as to what to say, and you could hear her in the background.
That's awesome.
Tell that Matt Murphy I said you shut your mouth and you can't do that to me.
Shut up, Brenda.
It was fun. It was fun. You could have made a TV show out of it. It was funny.
And I kicked him off the show for 2 weeks because he wouldn't stop calling and bugging the producer. After he called, he kept calling and bugging the producer. And I said, well, you can't call in for 2 weeks because you violated the rules and you're bugging my producer. And so he sued me. And
you got sued.
In Alabama District Court.
Did he write it up with a crayon?
It was written with a crayon, but he didn't have to pay $400.
No, because the court didn't exist. Jay, you know how much I love you, brother. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you again next time.
Thank you, brother.